Is Europe preparing a move to the gold standard? If Europe does indeed move to a gold standard, what would that mean for the price of silver and gold? We have suffered a lot over the last couple years. We investors in the precious metal sector, whether it be the metals or the mining stocks, could a move to the gold standard by our friends in Europe result in prices like gold, $6,100 per ounce? I know that seems absurd to us, but that's only a 4 times move from where we are right now. And look, gold has gone up 8 times in value several times over the last decades. So we're not talking about something that's out of the question. There's a lot of fascinating information regarding a thesis as to why the European Union, the countries in Europe, could be preparing to move to the gold standard. We're going to talk about it right now. Your perspective might just be changed when you hear about what these European countries have been doing for the last several decades, which appears to be preparation for a move back to some form of the gold standard. And we know, right? Europe has a long history with precious metals. Think of all the empires. Think of the Dutch. Think of the British. Think of the Spanish. What did they always put high level of value on? That's right, gold and silver. So when we look at this prospect of a move back to the gold standard, or again, some form of it, it is definitely not out of the question. A big part of the inspiration for this video came from a great article by a gentleman named John Nieuwenhuis. I will put a link to it in the description below. Read it. Share your perspectives with me. Maybe you see something different in the article than I saw. I'm always interested to read your comments, and you know that you're always welcome here in Ron's Basement. You are a little sharper than the average bear, right? Like to dive a little deeper. You're in the right place. Welcome to the club. You found a new home. However you want to say it. If you enjoy my content, I'll put out a new video every day. You can subscribe right here. Please give the video a thumbs up. Turn on the bell notification. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, your thoughts matter. We can learn about each other and from each other, and I know that you're joining me from every corner of the world. Now let's get back to this European gold standard subject. There's a couple key major points we need to talk about regarding what's gone on in Europe. Number one, I didn't know this. Maybe you did. But in 1971, when Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard, basically nullified the Bretton Woods Agreement, that the European countries were generally very angry with the United States. They did not like the fact that we had moved off the gold standard, moved more towards the petrodollar. But the European countries liked the gold standard, liked the stability that it provided. And since then, so for almost 50 years, these European countries, who also hold a ton of monetary gold in their central banks, they have been doing kind of a rebalancing amongst themselves. Basically, some of the countries who had more gold were selling it, and a lot of the countries that had a lower level of gold were buying it. And here's the very interesting point. When you statistically look at what they've been doing, they've been rebalancing their gold in a proportionate way to match basically the proportions of their GDPs to one another. And some people think the European countries were doing that to prepare for the option of moving to some type of gold-backed system. And that would make sense, right? If they were to revalue gold and use gold in some way to back their currencies, it would be appropriate that the European countries had a proportionate amount of gold held in their central banks relative to their GDP levels as they relate to one another. And with all the debt held by the European countries, if they were to revalue gold, if they were to use gold in some way to back their currency, that would make the price of gold skyrocket. It could easily get to $6,100 per ounce, maybe even $6,200 per ounce, but maybe even $10 or $12 or higher $1,000 per ounce. And we're going to talk about the mechanics of how this would work at the end of the video. But first, I want to touch on another point. This author, John Nieuwenhuis, he reached out to many of the European central banks, asking them, why are you doing this? Why are you selling or buying gold to keep the gold holdings in the European central banks roughly proportionate to your GDP relationships to one another? And they all came back and said, we can't comment. That's secret information. Don't ask anymore. It's very, very interesting, right? That they won't comment on that. Maybe it's a nothing burger, but I don't know. When my 10-year-old daughters ask me what they're getting for Christmas, I give the same answer. No comment. There's something going on in the background, but it's top secret information, and I'm not going to share it. In regard to the mechanics of how this would work, the European central banks could all acquire a bunch of their own debt, revalue gold, use the gold then to pay off the debt, and that would kind of wipe the slate clean in Europe. And a lot of people are saying we need that, right? With all this debt in the world, a reset, this would be a way to reset the debt problem. And at the same time, it would result in a massive revaluation for the price of gold and by default, the price of silver as well. And we can't forget, right? Old Richard Nixon, when he took the United States off the gold standard, he explicitly said that was temporary. Now, if we also look at what's going on in Europe within the context of the entire world, what's going on with the precious metals in Asia, what's going on with the precious metals in Russia. We have the BRICS nations, Russia, Brazil, India, China, a big chunk of the world population. Countries in South America, countries in the Middle East, countries in Africa that are talking about coming together and forming their own world reserve currency. You got it, based on real assets, and you got it again. That includes silver and gold. We have Russian President Vladimir Putin explicitly saying that he wants to develop a new central market for precious metals. Yes, gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, so that the price is more reflective of the true market value. When we look at that all in aggregate, the future looks very bright for the price of silver and gold. Hey, just my opinion and just my ideas after having read that excellent article. Do yourself a favor and read that article. If you want to learn more about what's going on with Russia and the potential for the repricing of gold and silver, I'm going to put that video right here. Again, if you want to subscribe, that's right here. But most important, you be well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.